The Jared Dillian Show.
I'm Jared Dillian. This is the Jared Dillian Show. If you want to call to talk about your money, please call 844-305-7800. That's 844-305-7800. This is the Jared Dillian Show. It's really boring out there. It's dull. Netflix reported earnings today and missed, and the stock is down about 10%. People believe that this is the end of the line for tech stocks. And I mean, I would like to believe that, but this is, people have said this a bunch of times before. And it's, you get a correction and then it goes up, and you get a correction and it goes up, and it's just been unstoppable. So, I don't really see the point of trying to call a top here in tech stocks. So anyway, we'll see what happens tomorrow with tech, but Netflix is down about 10% today. Freddie Mac said today that the average 30-year fixed-rate mortgage is now 2.98%, which is the lowest in history. We have the lowest mortgage rates in history. And by the way, if you have a mortgage that is 3 3/4 or higher, you should refinance. You should refinance. And this is, there's not a lot to be happy about these days, but this is definitely something to be happy about, I guess. 2.98%. So let's just run some numbers here, because you got to have an idea of how much you're saving because of these interest rates. Now, if you've got a $300,000 mortgage, and that would assume that you put 20% down, so it's a $360,000 house. If you got a $300,000 mortgage at 4%, your payment would be $1,432.25. So that's what it was last year. Now, if you borrow $300,000 at 3.5%, your payment will be $1,347.13. And that's where it was a couple of months ago. If you borrow $300,000 at 3%, your payment will be $1,264.81. That is unbelievable that you can get a $300,000 mortgage and you have a $1,200 payment. That's insane. And it makes houses more affordable. It makes bigger houses more affordable. I mean, you can afford a bigger house. It's absolutely incredible. This is the lowest that mortgage rates have been in history. And I'm actually surprised it's not making more news that mortgage rates are below 3%. I'm sure in some places you can get a 30-year fix for 2 7/8, 2 3/4. It's really incredible. And, I mean, like I said, it's the lowest in history. I haven't seen anything like this. These are pretty big savings. Now, if you have a $1,264 payment, your first payment on that mortgage is going to be $750 in interest and $514 in principal. Now, you're like, wow, that's a lot of interest. I got to tell you, when interest rates were higher, interest made up a much larger percentage of your mortgage payment. When interest rates on mortgages come down, you're actually amortizing principal faster. This is better than you think it is. It's a really good deal. You're building up equity faster, and it's because interest rates are lower. It's an incredibly good deal. Now, if you're paying your mortgage, this is the 3% mortgage. If you're paying your mortgage, it will take a little under 5 years to pay 10% of it off. A little under 5 years to pay 10% of it off. It will take you about 8.5 years to pay 20% of it off. So it still takes a while to amortize that principal. Now, let's say With a $1,200 mortgage payment, you had better be putting down additional principal. It's a must. It's absolutely a must. You must be putting down additional principal. So the average duration of a mortgage is 360 months or 30 years. If you pay down an extra $250 in principal in every payment, you will pay off your mortgage in 274 months, or about 8 years early. So you'll pay it off in 22 years. That's a pretty good deal. So you're paying $1,500 a month, which is basically what you were paying when interest rates were 4% anyway. So sorry for all the math, but this is, I want to just illustrate what an incredibly good deal this is. If you get a 3% mortgage, you should be able to amortize this very, very quickly. You should be sending in gobs of additional principal. You can do it. $250 a month would make your payment $1,514 a month. Not too bad, just a little higher than what you would pay with 4% interest. So you see how this works. Low interest rates are great for the housing market because you can afford more house. Now, what I will advise you is to resist the temptation to get a bigger house just because you can afford it. You should get the house that you want to get. You should get a smaller house and pay down the mortgage quickly and stop paying interest, and you will save lots and lots of money. Remember what we were talking about with 0.0% APR with cars. It allows you to afford a more expensive car, and these mortgage rates allow you to afford a more expensive house, but you don't need a more expensive house. You don't need a more expensive house. The problem is that housing prices are going up. So, this is what happens. Interest rates go down, people can afford more house, and it turns into a bull market and prices of housing go up. The housing market is hot in a lot of places in the country right now, blazing hot, which is weird because this is a recession. I mean, we are in a giant recession, and the housing market is hot. And it's because interest rates went down so far that people can afford bigger houses. I don't think I've talked about this before, okay? So if you're wondering where the interest rate comes from on 30-year mortgages, basically 30-year mortgage rates are benchmarked off of 10-year Treasury notes. They're based off of 10-year Treasury notes. Interest rates on 10-year Treasury notes are 0.6%. Which is the lowest in history. And it's not going up. These interest rates are not going up. But if you go back 2 years ago, if you go back to 2018, interest rates on 10-year Treasury notes were 3%. So basically they're priced off of 10-year Treasury notes with a spread, and that spread is starting to compress, and it looks like mortgage rates will get even cheaper. And in terms of interest rates going up, you might ask, well, are interest rates going to go up in the future? Yeah. In the future, they might go up at some point, but they're not going up now. In fact, I would bet on interest rates going up in the future, but not for quite a while. In the meantime, we get to enjoy mortgages that are less than 3%. Could they go lower? Could mortgage rates go lower? Maybe, but not a lot. If you are shopping for a house right now and you're being asked when you want to lock in rates, this happens all the time. When do you want to lock in rates? And suddenly you have an opinion on interest rates. You think they're going to go up. Ultimately, here's what happens. Everybody thinks they're going to go down and they wait to lock in rates. Just don't wait to lock in rates. When it comes time to lock in rates, just lock it in. This is an amazing interest rate. Just lock it in and don't worry about it. You do not know where interest rates are going. I barely know where interest rates are going. By the way, a $1,200 payment on a $300,000 loan is absolutely incredible. You have no idea how incredible this is. My first mortgage back in 1999 was 7.25%. At 7.25%, my payment on a $300,000 mortgage would be $2,046 a month. And right now it's $1,200. $2,046 a month. Huge difference. In fact, I was paying a higher payment on a $175,000 condo than you would be paying on a $300,000 mortgage today, which would be a $360,000 house. Housing is very affordable with these interest rates. A few more tips on mortgages. You must put down 20%. In fact, I advise you to put down more than 20%. Put down 30%. Put down 35%. Your payment will be even smaller, and you will have a bigger equity cushion. By the way, if it isn't obvious, banks don't determine the interest rates on mortgages. It's not like banks, it's not like Wells Fargo just charges whatever they want for a mortgage. It's determined by the financial markets. Sometimes the markets work in our favor and sometimes they don't. A couple more things. If you get a $300,000 3% mortgage, you will still pay $155,000 in interest over the life of the loan, assuming you don't send in any prepayments. That is still a lot of interest. In fact, you will pay $38,000 in interest just in the first 5 years. No matter what the interest rate is, you want to pay down this mortgage aggressively. How much additional principal do you have to send in to pay it down in 10 years? You need to send in a little more than $1,700 a month, which you can do. I'm Jared Dillian. This is The Jared Dillian Show.
The Jared Dillian Show.